and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. The debate over the freedom on the internet has taken a new turn. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, whose Internet.org plans faced a similar backlash, has reinvented that to provide what he calls free basics, a startup set of limited number of websites provided free of charge to mobile internet users. Anything beyond that number comes at a price. Net neutrality activists say the plan violates the spirit of the internet, which is equal and unrestricted access, and that on the contrary, under the guise of seemingly charitable intentions, Facebook is actually trying to control the internet insidiously by creating tiers of use for each and every one of us. So what really is the truth? Our story really on that. Internet, anyone can have it under one single universal environment. Well, not if Facebook has its way. If you are on Facebook recently, you may have received notifications asking for your support for something called free basics. What is it? Why has it led to a raging debate and a backlash in India? Why have big startups called for a ban on it?
Facebook's free basics sounds basic and free, right? But what is it? Free Basics is Internet.org renamed. It basically means a group of companies or websites partnering or promoted by Facebook that will be free to use on the internet. Now, critics say this gives them a huge advantage over others in a highly competitive online market because differential pricing of websites violates net neutrality. Facebook, on the other hand, says it will provide free content on important aspects like news, health and jobs. The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has now extended that deadline till January the 7th for stakeholders and Jan 14th for counter comments on whether it should be allowed in India. And Facebook's been asking its users to write to the government in support of it.
How is it that Facebook's really doing that? If you go to your Facebook profile page, you get a number of notifications. One of them will definitely be saying this. A number of your friends have voiced their opinions about Facebook's free basics. And Facebook says you can too. If you click on this, this is what you get. It's a pre-scripted message from Facebook's side with the subject title, I support free basics in India, a headline saying, act now to save free basics in India. And I send it to the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. My friends still get a notification saying that I have voiced my opinion about free basic and they can do this.
Critics, including 42 IIT professors and 9 startups founders, including Paytm and Zomato, have raised their voice against it. They say differential data pricing results in skewing internet dynamics, with Facebook acting as a gatekeeper. They also say differential data pricing leads to a tiered internet instead of a single open internet, and that there's no reason to create a digital divide by offering a walled garden of limited services in the name of providing access to the poor.
I'm a bit surprised that this whole debate on net neutrality has become, unfortunately, a rant against free basics. What free basics represents, the ability to distort free and fair competition on the web, and that legitimately is where the Competition Commission and competition law kicks in.
For now, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has asked Reliance Communications to suspend its free basic service. But which way will the telecom regulator finally swing will depend on the counter replies. With Ketki Angre in New Delhi, Amitot Singh for NDTV.
Well, clearly, as we said, the debate is raging all across social media, of course, and also in our studios right now. The TRAI, as we said, has extended a deadline for comments on this until the 7th. Joining us to discuss what free basics is, we have from Mumbai, Professor Bhaskaran Raman, who's with IIT in Bombay, one of the 42 professors from IIT who's written to TRAI saying this cannot be allowed to go through. We also have with us Vineet Vivedi, the founder and CEO of FlipClass from Bangalore, one of the 9 startups who've also written to the TRAI. We are being joined from Bangalore by Nitin Pai, the founder at the Takshashila Foundation and a fellow over there as well. We also have with us from Bangalore R. Chandrasekhar, the president of NASSCOM and the former chairman of the Telecom Commission and secretary of the Department of Telecommunications. We have with us in our studios Rajesh Charya, who's president of the Internet Service Providers Association, and we also have NDTV's editor-in-chief for Gadgets 360, Kunal Dua, with us in studio. Kunal, I actually want to open this by asking you to help people like me, fairly a lay person as far as the digital world is concerned. I'm a consumer. What does free basics really mean? How do we know what we're signing on to when we sign these petitions or not that come up on our Facebook pages?
I think first let's understand what Free Basics is.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's Facebook's platform wherein they tie up with telecom operators around the world. In India, for example, they've tied up with Reliance.
Yeah.
And you have to be a Reliance subscriber to be able to use Internet.org first of all. So you need to have a valid SIM. And in case you don't have a data connection, what Internet.org lets you do is log on to a select set of websites without having to pay for your internet access. So you can access only those websites. So where the debate steps in is that from a consumer's point of view, you have access only to those select websites that are part of this particular platform, which Facebook essentially decides that which websites can be part of the platform. And they have a process where you can apply to get yourself added, but again, at the end of the day, it's Facebook's decision who gets added and who doesn't. Now, where the net neutrality debate comes in is that the principles of net neutrality state that you should have access to the entire internet, and there cannot be a tiered system like this is essentially putting in place. So from a user's perspective, you are restricted to a certain set of websites unless you are ready to pay.
Right.
On the flip side, if you're looking at, let's say, startups, right? Why are startups worried about this? It's because unless you are part of those 120 websites, users cannot access. And let's say Internet.org really takes off, and theoretically speaking, the number of users on Internet.org exceed the number of mobile internet users in India.
Which is now Free Basics, right?
Free Basics. Yeah. The Free Basics. The number of Free Basics users exceed the number of mobile internet users, and let's say that it becomes the established platform. So unless you are there, you're not going to be, people will not be able to use your services. So that's where the startups really lose out.
Okay, so we have Vineet Dwivedi, who's founder and CEO of FlipClass, one of the 9 startups, has written to the TRAI saying this cannot be allowed to go through. You've heard Kunal talk about what some of your concerns or startups' concerns in general may or may not be. Is it that you really fear that if somebody is asked to pay to get onto your website, they're going to rather not? Or are you speculating that's going to happen, or are you confident that's what's going to happen, which is why you're opposing it?
So as part of startup, of course, I'm worried about all the startup ecosystem, but I'm more worried about the people of our country. So I'll start with an analogy. I mean, say if I'm offering free gas to people, but I'm limiting them to cook only rice, what would happen to the health of those people? After some time, of course, they would not have protein, they would not have other things, and their health will go down. So this is what is happening in a so-called free basics. You can watch news, but no, Facebook will decide what news you will watch. You can have access to education, but Facebook will decide what access you want. So if you see all the content, so there are first of all, there are only limited number of sites which Facebook will approve, and secondly, all the data, whatever anybody do there is going to reside on Facebook server. So basically, Facebook is actually monitoring on the usage patterns of the entire country or whatever people are using Facebook. That is the primary concern, and the secondary concern from the startup side is for a startup, it's a long battle, because see we really don't know what will be the criteria to go through those free basics to pass through the criteria of Facebook and get enlisted in that platform. So that's what is our concern, and Facebook is not very transparent on that. So.
Okay, Nitin Pai, you're sitting right next to Vineet Dwivedi. You've written a piece on what you feel are the sort of red flags as far as Free Basics is concerned. When you're hearing Mr. Dwivedi talk about the larger concerns, Facebook sort of insidiously controlling the kind of internet use that all of us may or may not do. Do you think that something like this, the idea of Free Basics, if it wasn't driven by Facebook per se and Mark Zuckerberg and the questions around the intentions over there, do you think in principle something like this is an idea for the millions of Indians who don't have access to the internet at all?
See, I think let's separate two of the issues which relate to Free Basics, right? The first one is, do we need something like Free Basics to get a lot of our countrymen and people in our country online? And the answer is clearly no. It's that we have almost 1 billion people using mobile phones in the country. Nobody actually had to create a Free Basics service to encourage them to use mobile phones. The prices came down, their incomes went up because of economic growth, and they saw the value in getting on to buying a mobile phone. So it's not going to be any different in India with respect to internet access. It's been the same in the United States, it's been the same anywhere in the world. So it's not really true that we need something special like free basics or some free data plan to get people interested on the internet and start using the internet. As we move forward, I've seen just last week I was in a very small village in rural Karnataka, and there were young people who were using the internet, and they didn't need to be told that there is a value which you need to uncover, and you need to use it only if it's free. So people will use the internet as it goes on. So I think we need to totally get rid of the canard that we need something like free basics or any other special scheme to get people online.
Okay.
Now the second issue is, should the Facebook and Reliance decide that they want to lose money? It's a matter between them and their shareholders, whether they should be spending money on something, on giving freebies to the people of India. Now the question for us in terms of our public interest is this going to be anti-competitive? Is this arrangement going to lead to a skewing of the playing field in favor of certain mobile operators and certain content and app providers, and whether that's good for the public interest? That's really a matter on which the Competition Commission of India must take a call. It is a question of competition. It is not a question of our ethics, our morality, or whether Facebook is right or wrong to do this.
Okay,
where Facebook's
I want to get R. Chandrasekhar, who's the president of NASSCOM, in on this debate, because NASSCOM seems to feel that the idea of free basics is not problematic per se. We know that TRAI has given an extension on the date for comments and feedback to be coming in from the industry as well as from users. What's your take on these concerns? Because the concerns do seem legitimate about one organization or one entity, in a sense, controlling what's inherently meant to be a free and democratic space.
First of all, I'm really surprised, that a certain view is being attributed to NASSCOM, when NASSCOM itself has not made public what it has filed with the TRAI and what the view that is being taken in response to TRAI is. So I do not think that anyone should assume what NASSCOM is actually going to be saying. But let me tell you what clearly has emerged from our discussions, and that should really set at rest some of these absolutely unfounded rumors. Let me repeat, absolutely unfounded rumors that are floating around. What has clearly emerged is, number one, net neutrality and creating and preserving an ecosystem that is conducive to innovation are absolutely non-negotiable priorities in the country, and nothing can be done or should be done to compromise that. The second thing is that we are very clear in the view that has emerged that neither telecom service providers nor their partners should have any authority or right to offer differentially priced services for a subset of the content that is there on the internet, because this violates basic principles of net neutrality. That is also something absolutely clear. The question which arises is whether any form of differential pricing, not the free basics per se, whether any form of differential pricing should be banned altogether. Please remember that the TRAI consultation paper is not on free basics. It is on whether differential pricing should be allowed or not. And there are certain categories of services where differential pricing is allowed and in fact is probably necessary. For example, the kind of customer services which telecom operators provide are not charged. Similarly, you have free Wi-Fi at hotspots. These are not charged. So there are or emergency services which are not charged. So the question is, under what circumstances should it be allowed and who should allow? We are very clear that service providers and their partners should not be allowed to make such a distinction. Any such distinction should be made only by the regulator for a public good, which is a public good in the assessment of the regulator. So what are the conditions which that should meet? First, it should not violate net neutrality. The second, it should not in any way undermine the innovation capability. And third, even if it is not resulting in any commercial advantage for any company, it should keep in mind that there's mountains of data which is actually going to get generated, and that data has a commercial value. So we should not underestimate or ignore value of that data, especially because in our country we don't have privacy law. So how this data will be used and for what purposes it can be used and how it can be monetized are all things which are extremely difficult to quantify. And so all such judgments should be made by the regulator. That is our assessment.
Okay, all right. Before I bring in our other guest, Kunal, I want to come back to you once again to also help break down what Mr. Chandrasekhar has said. In a sense, you know, they're talking about creating spaces where people also may or may not be able to exercise choice. That's the argument that's being made. But on the other hand, the ones who are completely opposed say there's no question choice is being taken away from the consumer with this move.
I think Mr. Chandrasekhar talked about that there is already differential pricing in voice, that you know there are certain services that are free, certain services that are premium. But that's the whole point that we cannot have the same system on the internet. You cannot say that if you want to access, let's say, WhatsApp, you need to pay a premium which is over and above your normal data price.
But he also says that the principles of net neutrality will not be violated by this.
But I think that's where we differ. I think they will definitely violate the whole point of. I mean, if you look at how net neutrality is defined anywhere in the world, this is a very founder of the internet. You know, and so many other experts who have talked about on this issue have said that differential pricing definitely violates the principle of the internet. So I don't think there is any debate. There can be any debate on that front.
Okay, Professor Raman, I want to bring you in because you know you've also written to the TRAI. Are you convinced at all by the arguments that say that this is not going to be as much of a bogey as it's being made out to be? There's no insidious attempt to control the internet. It's about widening access for the millions of Indians who don't have access to the internet. Do you buy any of that at all?
Certainly not. See, this whole free basics thing is a multi-crore marketing campaign. It's nothing more than that. Facebook has no role whatsoever in any of the things in play here. So they are not the end consumer. They are not the one who is providing the service or the app which the consumer is using. They are not the network in between. So what are they? So what are they doing in between? This goes much beyond violation of net neutrality. Violation of net neutrality is bad enough in itself, but even beyond that, this free basics proposal proposes that all data go through a Facebook server and they are going to decrypt the contents of what goes there. So if I access using this free basics my banking service, Facebook will know my bank balance. That's not something I'm comfortable with. I'm sure nobody here is comfortable with that. So this whole thing of bringing internet to the poor is a facade.
Okay, all right. Rajesh Arya, I want you to bring you in on this because what seems to be emerging from this debate is two different strands of the argument. One, that the internet itself is a free space. Everyone should have unlimited access to as much. Individual websites want to charge subscriptions, want to get advertisers. That's the prerogative of that individual website. A service provider cannot be the go-between as far as this is concerned. That's one strand of the argument. The second strand of the argument is that an organization like Facebook, which is in any case trawling and mining all our devices, our iPads, our iPhones, our Android devices, all that have the Facebook app, in any case, are going to be now taking that level of control to the next level. So is the argument, is the sort of voice against free basics a voice against Facebook's mining of data per se? Is it something about control by Facebook, or is it in principle that there should be no tiered access to the internet no matter what?
Before commenting on the Facebook, let's start from the 1998 when the internet started. Today 17 years has passed. What is the population of the internet? If we see, the government is now including the mobile enabled internet, in which they are claiming of 300 million. But out of 300 million, how many millions are actually using the internet properly? Simply sending the message through the WhatsApp, data services are being used. It doesn't mean that you are using the proper internet. It isn't just an application. Right now, the definition of the broadband is 512 kbps and our population of the broadband is mere 18 million. Next year, the TRAI is going to revise this definition to 2 MB. What will be our population? It will decrease to 10 million. What is the situation right now? Our motto, the government's main objective, and this should have been done by the government rather than Facebook, for free internet to unconnected people.
Okay.
So why we are not thinking in that way, ki how we can connect the unconnected people?
So you are saying, in a sense, the idea of providing some kind of platform where people can access the internet is in principle a good one. It should not be given to Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. Nitin Pai, come in on that, because that takes it to a slightly different area of the debate, that there should be some kind of tiered intervention as far as the internet is concerned, giving it free to those who can't afford it, but having the rest of us pay for services that we use off the internet, but keep Facebook out of it, let the government regulate it. Your take on that?
See, I think this has been actually contemplated in the last few years. I think Finland wanted to introduce something called a right to broadband to all its population. It gets into this rights-based discourse where we decide to give certain goods and services as rights to people. Now, I have spent a lot of my working career in the infocom and telecom industry, and I can surely vouch for the fact that providing everybody with an internet connection is going to be a massive benefit to society and to the individual as a whole. So there are massive externalities. Therefore, we should prefer a society where everybody has access to broadband. Now, whether that should be provided free of cost by the government to an individual is an entirely different matter. Because whenever a government is providing something free of charge to somebody, somebody has to pay. And who's paying that? There are only about 30 million people who file income tax returns in this country.
Yeah.
So there are 30 million people who pay taxes, and those taxes are going to be used to pay for a lot of things, from metro stations to food to electricity to subsidies for fuel, for a lot of things. And then we also have to pay now broadband charges. So it doesn't make sense for something which costs someone to be given out to somebody else as a right.